Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Welcome to this meeting of the Eastern Planning Committee, Wednesday, 22nd of January 2025. For the benefit of the public attending and watching on live stream, I'm Councillor David Took, Chair of this committee. My Vice Chair is Councillor Sari House. The meeting will be live streamed and will be available to view on the Council website after the meeting. By attending this meeting, you consent to being filmed. Can I remind everyone that when you're speaking, speak directly into the microphone and that so you can be clearly heard and seen, not just by people in the room, but by those online as well. Planning Committee is not a public meeting, but a meeting to which the public is invited. All attendees must comply with the ruling of the Chair. They must not interrupt the meeting or cause undue disturbance. To support this, please switch off your mobile phones or select silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Those using Teams, please ensure microphones are on mute and your device volume is set to 0 to maintain audio quality. Only those who are registered to speak in accordance with the speaking protocol will be invited to address the committee for a maximum of 3 minutes. Those 3 minutes will be timed by Vice Chair, who will give you a 10-second warning. Speakers will be limited to the first 3 people objecting and the first 3 people supporting the application who have registered, along with a parish council and ward member. And no material should be circulated to members of the committee by individuals. We have 2 applications to determine today. The case officer will be invited to present the report and recommendations, after which I will invite members of the public who are registered to speak before the deadline to address the committee in the following order: public against, public support, applicant or agent, town parish council and ward members. Each speaker has said maximum 3 minutes. Following on from the registered public speakers, the planning officers will have the opportunity to address any salient points they wish to clarify, and committee members will be given the opportunity to ask questions of the planning officer before moving on to debate. And there's a bit of a fuzzy bit between questions and debate, so I'm not too strict about that. When we go into councillor debates and questions, for the benefit of the public watching, can councillors state their name when addressing the meeting? The officers involved in today's meeting include Kim Powell, who is our Eastern Area Manager and Development Manager, Elizabeth Adams, who is our Eastern Area Team Leader, James Brightman, who is a Senior Planning Officer, Marianne Ashworth, who is our lawyer, Megan Rochester, Senior Democratic Officer, and Josh Kennedy. And then there is our Democratic Services Officer, Henry Clark's this meeting. Apologies for absence. I think we've had 2. Is there any others? Just as 2, we've had Councillors Spencer Flower and Terry Coombs. Right, moving on. Does anyone have a declaration of interest to declare to make? No. If anything occurs to anybody when we're running through the actual meeting, please let me know. The minutes of the previous meeting have all been circulated. Does anybody have any problems with them? Any questions? Happy to. Yeah, can we approve them? Any opposition? No? Okay. Public participation is the next section. Now, public speakers have the opportunity to speak now, and again for 3 minutes, or they can wait until the particular item is called. And if anybody wishes to exercise the right to speak first now? No? In which case, I think we'll move on to our first item, which is PHOU 2024-05845, 77A Elmhurst Road, Westmoors, and the presentation will be by Elizabeth Adams. Let's take it away.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. So this application before you is for a single garage in front of the dwelling at 77A Elmhurst Road. Westmoors Town Council have objected to this application as they're concerned it will have a negative impact on the street scene and the character of the area, as it will set a precedent for garages in front gardens. The application site is in the urban area of Westmoors, to the northern end of Elmhurst Road, as you see with the red arrow, and the road extends sort of into the plantation to the north. The properties at this end of the highway are set back from the road behind front gardens, which are often used for parking and also planting. 77A Elmhurst Road was created following the subdivision of the plot to create two dwellings, and the proposed single garage is to be positioned forward of the new dwelling and in front of the building line in the front garden. The proposed garage is a simple timber building with gable ends and a tiled roof to match the dwelling. It has an eaves height of 2.1 metres and a ridge height proposed of 3.6 metres. Here you see the context of the proposed garage. So the dwelling itself is about 6.6 metres, and the proposed garage would be in front, approximately in the position of where you see this van. Just again for context, according to the manufacturer's website, that van is approximately 2.6 metres high. And as you saw in the previous slide, the proposed garage would have a pitched roof with a maximum height of about 3.6. So the garage is wide enough to accommodate a car, but it's less than 6 metres deep, so it cannot be counted as a parking space. However, the site would retain space for two off-road parking spaces to the front here and to the side. Concern was raised by the Town Council that there aren't any other garages in the street scene that project forward of the building line. There is in fact just the one, which is down here at 20 Elmhurst Road. And this is because it's so much further south, it's not seen in the same context, but it does provide an example of where a garage has been achieved. And in its law officer's opinion, that has not harmed the character of the area. There were two other examples that the case officer has identified in the vicinity, and these are over on Elmhurst Road and no, sorry, we're on Elmhurst Road, Oakhurst Road, and it's not. These don't provide a precedent. They're just to give you an idea of what else is in the vicinity, and that each application has to be considered on its own merits, taking account of the site context. So these don't form a precedent, but they are. It's just worth you knowing that there are very few houses with garages in the front garden. So in this case, the site doesn't benefit from side boundary vegetation screening, as you saw in some of the other examples. But there is existing boundary fence running along the northern boundary. It's about 2 metres high, and with the eaves height of 2.1, it'll only just be evident those eaves above the height of the fence, with the roof then pitched away from the northern boundary. The setback of 8 metres will also assist in allowing the development to be accommodated on the site. Officers have judged that the modest proportions and the proposed materials would enable the garage to be accommodated within the street scene without harm to the local character that would justify refusal. So the development is judged to accord with policy HE2, which is the design policy in the Christchurch and East Dorset local plan. So subject to conditions in the officer report, the proposed development is recommended by officers for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Right, we've got public speakers. So we've got the applicant or agent, who is Martin Patek. If you want to come to the desk there, you will see before you the microphone. You can adjust the angle. You press the right hand button, a little red light should come on and you'll be clear to speak. You've got 3 minutes from when you start speaking.
Hello, good morning. I'm Martin Fatek. My wife and I moved to the said property in February last year. Prior to that, the plot, as mentioned, was a very large detached dwelling, and it also had two single garages to the side. This was demolished and two purpose-built dormer bungalows were installed, of which neither have a loft or a garage for storage. With the local area, we have noticed that there are garages as shown, which are of brick nature on the screen there. There are others in Pinehurst Road. There are 6 in Pinehurst Road, all with garages to the front of the property, brick built. And there are some others in the local area within 500 metres of where we live. We decided that a brick built garage wouldn't be sympathetic for the property or the area close to the woods. So with this in mind, we are paying a lot more money to build an oak framed garage of sustainable timber, which is in keeping with the facade of the front of our property and the forest, which is close by to where we live. Now, with the development, we have chosen a local manufacturer from the forest, which is the New Forest, to build this for us. The garage itself, the footings that we're going to have to put it on, the majority of developers want to just cut the drive up, which is something we don't want doing because the previous developer paid for this drive, which is a special one, thousands for the allowing of water to just drain through it rather than run off. So at a cost of £2,500 plus VAT on top of the price of the garage, we're having the tarmac cut out with a grinder, so it's neat and concise, and it doesn't wreck the infrastructure of where it's going to sit. Now, when this has been done, we will then obtain storage.
30 seconds.
For storage for my vehicle, and I need to buy a mobility scooter to help with my health, which I don't have anywhere to keep it at the moment. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next public speaker on this item is from the Westmoreland Town Council. It is Councillor Rita Burke. Again, if you try to turn the button to activate the microphone.
Hi, thank you. Westmoreland Town Council has consistently objected with the construction of garages in front gardens, particularly in areas with open plan layouts and with no existing garages located in front gardens in such locations. Objections have been raised against proposed developments on Oakhurst Lane, Oakhurst Road, Pinehurst Road and Elmhurst Road. In each of these areas, the houses are set back from the road within a generally open plan setting. The addition of garages in front gardens disrupts the openness and would have a detrimental and lasting impact on the street scene. We therefore urge the committee not to allow such developments to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, officers, do we have any responses to points raised by public speakers?
Thank you, Chair. I don't think there's anything to raise there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So open it up to questions from the committee. To start with, Councillor Gorringe.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Barry Gorringe, St Leonard's and St Ives Ward. Question I would ask, looking at the right-hand slide at the bottom there is the screening down that left-hand side of the property. Is there screening all the way along there with those trees, bushes or whatever?
I think we'll just release the view.
Answer?
Thank you, Chair. So, because the two houses that are on the plot that was 77 are new, the planting is relatively new, and so the little plants that are in there are quite modest. So at the moment, you've just got the close board fencing that provides the screening. In time, it's anticipated that there would be some more, the planting will establish and will provide some additional screening, but I wouldn't rely on that to make the development acceptable. In the wider street scene, which I think I showed you in here, you can see that there's more established vegetation along that highway. So I'm trying to show you. So the plot is down here, just before those trees. So yeah, if you're seeing it in the wider street scene, there is intervening planting and trees which provide some softening.
Can I come back?
I'll come back again, Barry.
Yeah. On the basis that if the committee today decides to approve this, can we put a rider in there that we have screening down that side so that it helps to shield the actual garage?
Feature. So because there's a pre-existing screening, as in pre-existing planting that's gone in, I wouldn't recommend the need for additional planting. I'm not sure that would be. I don't think there's enough space between the impermeable, permeable hard surface that's been laid and the boundary fence to secure hedging that would grow big enough to totally screen the garage. I think what you will achieve from the planting that's already gone in is some disruption of the views.
Do we know what the planting is there at the moment?
I need to check for the planning file for the previous application. I can do that if you give me a couple of moments.
Okay, we'll come back to you on that, Councillor Orange. In the meantime, anybody else? Councillor Azad.
Thank you, Councillor Vera Azar from Wareham Ward. Looking at this application, as it's an open plan situation all the way down that road, there is the odd garage in the front, and as this sits back 8 metres from the actual road, and there is a pavement as well, there isn't any visibility issues for anyone driving in or out nearby, and also the fact that you put a permeable, or the builders put permeable parking area in front of the drive. I think that's really good from that point of view for the environment and flooding issues. I do think that putting any extra planting in will actually be detrimental to the fact that it's supposed to be sort of open plan, and the fact that the garage will sit back, and it'll be very pleasing. Can we have a vision of the actual garage, the picture of it in actual fact? Have we got a picture in situ, what it will look like in situ at all?
Sorry.
Only that you've got the van that would be, I presume, sitting in the garage. Yeah, I mean, it looks actually to me a sort of pleasing on the eye. So from that point of view, and there are other garages in the road and around about. So I have no objection to this, only that really the lack of the builders not putting in garages to start with, but then I suppose the site did not allow that, to put them side by side because of the space. And so the only place, if you're going to have storage or put anything in the front, especially if people are, need buggies and things, where do they store them? And this is a good question. So, yeah, I've got no objection to this. I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Azar. We're ready to come back with planting. Thanks. And I'll go to you in a moment.
Thank you, Chair. I'm hoping I can share it. Let's see if I can. There we go. So the approved planting is showing a rowan tree and then beech hedging along this area here. Now, of course, there's no requirement to keep it at any particular height, so we can't assume that it will grow very high. But that is the rowan tree, and then there's so just looking down here, we got 3 field maples in the next door neighbour's frontage as well, which would also contribute to some softening of the visual impact of the garage. Thank you.
And I think Alex had a hand up.
Yes. Councillor Brenton, Richard Upton. One first question is, this application is for a garage. Doesn't sound as though this garage is going to be used as a garage. I would suspect you're not going to get the big van in there. And the gentleman did say it was for storage because these houses were built with very little useful storage, shall we say. Would it make a difference if you'd applied for a shed? Because it seems to me that it is much more a storage shed than a garage. In sort of, in terms of precedence, in terms of permitted development, things like that, are there any covenants on this house to say you shouldn't put anything in the front garden? That would be my first and important question. I might follow up.
Through you, Chair. So any development that's forward of the principal elevation of the dwelling would require planning permission because it doesn't benefit from permitted development rights.
It doesn't.
Any further questions?
I sympathise with the town council that it's changing the character of the area. And this is 2 properties side by side, so it's not impossible that the other neighbour will do a very similar application. I know that is not our problem at the moment, but they would still have to apply because it's in front of the building, so therefore it's not in permitted development rights. That is correct. Okay. My other observation is that the other property appears, according to your plan, said it was going to have 3 field maples in that corner. Bearing in mind that field maples can get 20 foot wide, I wouldn't have thought that was a particularly good choice of plant. Any comments? Because they're going to have to be savagely pruned or turned into a pleached hedge in order to be able to get a car past them in about 5 years.
I'm not sure that maple trees in a neighbour's garden.
Yeah. No, I just think under what rules? Yes.
Application.
Yes. That's an observation.
Okay. Duncan.
So, Duncan Surrey House, Corfmullen. Can I just ask the officer to, and I hear the town council, but I thought this was an unusual application to come to this place. Can you just confirm that there are in fact no material planning considerations with this application, as stated in the report?
Chair. There were always material planning considerations to be considered, but we are recommending approval on the basis that we don't consider that harm arises, which would justify refusal on the basis of material considerations.
Yeah.
That clarifies.
That's kind of what I meant.
Thank you. My thoughts on this are NPPF section 12, which is achieving well-designed and beautiful places. All developments should be of a high quality in design, relationship and visual impact of it is compatible with surroundings. and development that is not well designed should be refused. So are we saying that this is well designed? Provides an improvement to the situation rather than making things look worse. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Is your officer's position that the layout, form and the scale are sufficiently compatible with the existing and built layout, albeit that this is a new feature within the street scene, but the setback, the design and the materials are such that we don't consider that refusal could be justified on the basis of an intrusion into the character of the front gardens? Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Councillor Skeets, I think you were about to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Andy Skeets, Westmoreland and Three-Legged Cross. It's quite rare for Westmoreland Town Council to actually object to this type of application, in terms that there are many parishes and towns that seem to object to any will, but Westmoreland is not one of them. If you go and look in Westmoreland, it is a semi-rural village, small town. The openness of this site as you approach Elmhurst Road is important to people that live in the area, because it's, as you walk down Elmhurst Road and go towards the end, those bungalows actually move to the left and the display is quite wide. So it has a special consideration, I think, in terms of the openness of that area, and the impact of something being built in it, therefore, is going to affect the street scene. My concern is, though, that we are 8.3 metres off of the boundary, and if you look to your right-hand side, I think the developed bungalows are closer to the road even than 8.3 metres. I think they're a lot closer in terms of distance. So it's a very, very balanced view. So one of the questions I have is, if we were of a mind to reject this, obviously we have a percentile of applications that go through and is audited and verified for decision making. What are the chances of this being overturned? Because I think even if we objected to this and overturned it and sent it out, then the applicant would probably go to appeal and, in my opinion, may well win that appeal. But I'd like to know what the officers think about the chances of that appeal if it was to be objected to.
If I may, through you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Skeets. That was an interesting question, because until we get the inspector's decision, we never really know which way that is going to fall. But the inspectorate would take account of the balanced recommendation in your officer report, as well as third-party representations. And in this instance, the officer has set out quite clearly why we think in this instance it's a recommendation for approval. And so that is our view, really. So we would suggest that if it did go to appeal, that there is an insufficient harm to warrant a refusal in this instance. And that's what we take forward to an appeal. Thank you.
If I come back with a supplementary then, so given the fact that puts us in a somewhat difficult position, because obviously we have to consider that further appeal that could happen there. Is there any other restriction that we can put on this property, such as, I know that you said that this particular application doesn't permit permitted development rights, but there are other structures, I think, that possibly could be or not in the front garden. Is that a protection in itself, being in the front garden, so we don't need to consider an additional withdrawal of Section 106 rights to that property, or should we?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair, no. Anything that any new development in that front garden would need planning permission. It's only if somebody was to place a caravan, that wouldn't need planning permission, but that wouldn't be a change of use, so it would be development. Yeah, but any new structure is going to need permission.
And just further to that, someone mentioned the parking of that camper van in the garage. That's not going to be possible, is it? Because of the height, I'm guessing. But
It's a shed.
just to clarify people's minds.
Any Councillor Gorringe?
Yeah, Councillor Barry Gorringe. I think if this goes ahead, if we walk down that street in 5 years' time, those plants would have been grown up, and the garage wouldn't really stick out. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend approval.
Okay, are you making a proposal?
Yeah.
That we accept
We accept what the officer has said.
the recommendation? There you go. Councillor Brenton.
Councillor Brenton, Litchett and Upton. I would second that proposal because I think we also have to consider the quality of life of the people living in a house that does not have sufficient storage for their needs. And I would rather have a nicely built garage than a shipping container.
Thank you. Before we move to the vote, does anybody else want to make a question or comment? Councillor Triton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill Trite, Swanage. I have a lot of sympathy for the applicant here. He has made a good case. It's clear that this would be very helpful to him in his life, and he's gone to some trouble to make the proposal acceptable visually. On the other hand, I have a great deal of, and I know I'm always wittering on about this, I believe that we, in general, should be taking more notice of what town and parish councils are saying to us. They represent local people and they are the closest council to the people. And consequently, we have that dilemma between helping a particular individual or supporting a collective policy. So it's a matter, I suppose, of where one puts the greater weight. In my case, I'm afraid I give the greater weight to the local authority, the town council, because I do believe that this is the first step in changing the immediate locality, and it will be a precedent. Consequently, I will, with due respect, not support that proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, I tend to agree that views of local parish councils and town councils are important. Is there a neighbourhood plan for Westmoors? Because that would be the best way for Westmoors to actually put forward their own policies. I think. I don't know if there's one in process.
Design.
Through you, Chair. I've just had a quick look and I can't see that there is, but Councillor Skeets might know more than me.
And
Sorry, Councillor Skeets, Westmoors and Three-Legged Cross. In 2007, there is a plan that's going back quite a long way. I think the town council are probably mindful of its need for review, and I think that's probably been discussed already. I can't see it. Yes, I'm right in saying that it is. So, yeah, Westmoors is doing its bit to protect its environment. Of course, it has many protections around it. The floodplain we had mentioned earlier, the water levels and the reasoning for the water to precipitate through tarmac is because the actual water table in the winter is about 500 millimetres below ground. It's really quite high. We're bundled by forestry, by triple SI within 400 metre zone. So we have a lot of consideration, if you like, for nature in our and that's, I guess, why the parish council have acted in this way. So,
Okay, thanks. So that there isn't a neighbourhood plan current or currently being drawn up.
excuse me, I'm sorry, but I don't think the 2007 plan has ever been withdrawn.
2007 sounds like it's not a neighbourhood plan, it'd be a parish plan. It's legally a different beast.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Duncan Sarah House, Corfe Mullen. So I sympathise with the town council, and as chair of the town council myself, I feel your pain. However, it's really important in this place, and I hear and respect what Councillor Tripe says. However, this isn't something, we work within a framework, and this isn't about a balance. This is about making sound, robust decisions. The proposal is acceptable in its design and general visual impact, says the officer. And I believe that the design that the applicant has gone for will in fact be quite recessive on the site. It blends with the house, it blends with the gates and the posts. So I think that statement from the officer holds water. And that follows on with there's no considered to be significant harm to the neighbouring residential amenity, and I would agree with that too. But I think the key comes down, and when I know parish and town councils make their opinions, there are no material considerations which would warrant refusal of this application. And if this place decides differently, then it puts the authority at risk of losing an appeal. And that is because it's not about someone's opinion. We need to be clear that we're citing material planning considerations that would warrant refusal. So on that basis, I welcome the application from the resident and the consideration that has gone into the design, and I will be supporting this.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they want to say, to comment, add to the debate, or if we move to if not, we go straight to the vote, which is the proposal is that we accept the officer's recommendation and grant this application. And that's been seconded. There's no modifications to it that I can see. So all those in favour, please show hand. 1, 2, 3, 5. And all those against. 1, 2. Oh, 3. I can't
Sorry.
see that. Hidden behind the screen. And any abstentions? I think that's carried, is it? Yeah. Josh, is that? Yeah. So we've got the HOE 2024-05845 has been granted. And we'll move on to the next one. Thank you very much indeed.
Sorry, Chair. I think it's 6 and
Lots of position, and you can say you're going to get the road again.
Moving on to the next item, which is agenda item 6. In a moment, that's Dunroman, Woodlands Drive, Cole Hill, P full 2024 00196. If we just allow the officers a few minutes to get everything in order, we'll begin the presentation.
Good morning, members. This is a proposal at Dunroman, Uddens Drive in Coal Hill, and it's for the retention of an array of ground-mounted solar panels for use by the dwelling at Dunroman. Just a point to mention first about the drawing numbers. The drawing numbers cited in the report, there is no revision C, so if it was to be decided today, we would omit revision C. The application site is located off Uddens Drive to the north of Ferndown, west of West Moors. The site is immediately to the west of Clayford House, accessed by an unmade road to the north and northwest. The site is in the countryside and greenbelt, but outside any site of special scientific interest. Our members may actually recall looking at an application to extend the dwelling at this property in the November meeting last year. Solar panels have been erected to the south of a post and rail fence in the position annotated in this plan. The approximate location of the solar panels is shown by the yellow line, with the dwelling to Dunroman to the north. The blue line is the residential curtilage of Dunroman. The applicant had considered a location within the curtilage, but advice from the installers suggested a suitable one was not available, which was free from overshadowing or shading from trees and buildings. The site benefits from tree screening close by to the east along the access road and to the north. There is a further natural screening to the west and south, but that's further away. The line of solar panels is 25 metres long. The highest part is 1.46 metres above ground and the lowest 0.65 metres. And the applicant proposes to plant a beech hedge approximately 2.4 metres to the south of the panels to provide a degree of screening. And in the officer report, would be required by condition 2. The solar panels will have a limited visual impact on the countryside, given their modest height. No adverse visual impact would result. The panels are inappropriate developments in the greenbelt by definition, but the NPPF gives some flexibility to local authorities to grant permission from them if they feel there are very special circumstances. And in this case, officers consider the actual contribution from the panels to low carbon emissions, no carbon emissions from the generation of electricity represents a very special circumstance to allow them in the greenbelt. In terms of flooding, the site is not a floodplain, but the Environment Agency do not object on flood risk grounds, advising any impact would be minimal and localised to the site. In terms of the principle, officers consider as a functional requirement for the solar panels to be in a rural location, and the principle as development is acceptable on that basis. As I said earlier, the contribution made from cutting greenhouse gases represents the very special circumstances needed to outweigh the harm from inappropriateness in the greenbelt. This is especially as the Council has declared a climate emergency. The National Planning Policy Framework recognises such small-scale projects provide a valuable contribution to reduce greenhouse gas, and the impact on localness is limited. Condition 3 of the officer report states that the panels have to be removed after 30 years. Subject to other conditions in the report, the proposed development is recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one public speaker registered, who is the applicant or agent, who is Bryn Kitching. I hope I said that right.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, my name is Bryn Kitching. I'm the planning agent for Mr. Keeper, who is the applicant in this case. And thank you, members of the planning committee, for your time and the opportunity to speak. I did have some things prepared, but I think that actually officers have outlined the proposals really well. I'm not sure that I've got anything I can add to that to help your understanding of the application. I don't want to repeat what you've just been told. But I do want to say that we do thank officers for their positive and proactive approach in dealing with this application to overcome some of the issues which came along in terms of Environment Agency requesting further information. They allowed that to be submitted and considered, which resulted in the no objection from the EA. We agree with officers the way they've applied the policies and also their conclusions in terms of that planning balance. We also agree with the conditions, which are both necessary and reasonable. And Mr. Cooper's already been sort of looking to secure the beach hedging, which is required under condition 2, so secure the transplants to ensure that those can be put in before the end of this current planting season within the next 2 months. So really, we therefore request that you agree with your officer's recommendation and grant planning conditional planning consent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to questions from the committee and then move into debate. I'd like to ask a question first, if I may. My concern when I first read this was paragraph 156 of the NPPF, which says that when located in the green belt, elements of many renewable energy projects will comprise inappropriate development. And the officer has covered that. Clearly, if it's just because it's renewable, doesn't mean that's a very special circumstance. Otherwise, that paragraph wouldn't exist. So, of themselves, renewable energy products aren't very special circumstances. What is required is that these the benefits clearly outweigh any problems. And I think from what I've seen, the impact of these solar panels is fairly minimal, and the benefit of producing the power that goes with it outweighs that. Is that the contention that officers are putting forward?
That's correct, Chair. The impact on the green belt, there is an impact on openness, but it's very slight given the design of the panels and their low level nature. And small contribution, albeit from these panels, to reduce carbon, if on a cumulative impact across the whole country will make a difference. That's the basis. It's a very special circumstance.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Azad.
Thank you. I don't know whether my questions are actually to do with the planning, because I just wonder that they obviously put these in, and I don't know how long they've been put in, because this is a planning application after the fact, as it were. The fact that it's not within their curtilage of their house, why was that a question that was asked? That looks like they've got plenty of room within the curtilage of the house, so why would they put them in what they call the plot, or whatever it is? I'm afraid I've forgotten what it's called, but the small holding. That's a question, but the fact that it's already in situ, how long have they been there because of this 30-year limit on their use? Just for my reasoning, I've got solar panels on the top of my house, and I've got 12 panels, which is actually 3 kilowatts. So I know I've had them for 10 years, so they're obviously not as powerful as these, but that actually suits my needs for one person. But the arguments against them, being more than necessary for what the people need there, I would say is questionable. But also because I'm very much into renewable energy in a big way, that I support this in some ways, but I've just got these queries about why is it in the plot instead of within their curtilage, and also how long have they been there already? Thank you.
Thanks.
Through you, Chair. In terms of why they're located where they are, The supporting information from the applicant says they did consider a location in the curtilage, but it was discounted because there was too much tree shading from the trees and from the buildings. And that's why they were located outside in a more sunlit area. In terms of how long they've been there for, I can't answer that. I'm not sure. But within 4 years, yes, because of
Sorry?
within 4 years.
Well, so that would
Actually 4 years, I think.
Yeah, can I come back? That would mean that the already 26 of the years, if that's the case, have already gone by. So we need some assurance what the actual date was when they were put in, so that we can actually have this 30-year cut-off, or whatever they might do within the 30 years. So that is a condition, I understand, to remove them after 30 years. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Well, the condition we have suggested says within 30 years of the date of any permission. So we give them extra years if it was granted on that basis. But a condition could be amended to be a lesser period if members thought that was important.
So I would say it would be important to know how long they've been there, because I would have thought that they at least that would have been established by the planners before it came to us. But anyway, then that is something I would have thought that would have been in the plan in your report. Thank you.
So for clarity, if they've been there a number of years, but if we approve it today, it will be 30 years from today, or such lesser period as the committee might wish to put in. And we think that they've been there for up to 4 years. So might be 1 year, might be 2, might be 3, might be 4. Very much doubt it's 5.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Anybody else? Councillor Skeets.
Andy Skeets, Westmoreland and Three-Legged Cross. My concern is that because the solar panels are actually outside of the curtilage and in a greenbelt area within 400 metres of protected things, yes, my concern is that if we allow people to put solar panels away from their curtilage of their property and in the greenbelt and within 400 metres of Heathland protected area, aren't we somewhat setting a precedence that if anyone wants to buy a little bit of land and channel a cable to their house, that they can do that anywhere they like in the area? Because that's what it appears to me, James. I'm a bit nervous about the fact that it's outside of the curtilage of the property. Had his small holding been part of that curtilage, I wouldn't have so much of a reservation, but that in itself gives me a big reservation as to whether we should be doing this, because what are we opening ourselves up to at a later date in other areas? Or can you assure me that I'm misguided?
Through you, Chair.
Yeah, please. I'm not added to that. Is setting a precedent like that part of the planning considerations that we should be looking at? I can get an answer from that as well, please.
If I could start with the 400 metres referred to by Councillor Skeets. The 400 metres is not to do with solar panels as such. It's really pedestrian access or people access to the heath. So within 400 metres, Natural England consider there's a problem with people more like to access the heath with their dogs and for informal recreation. So it's an access issue rather than anything to do with this. Secondly, the greenbelt. This site is in the greenbelt, but so is the whole of Dunroman and its curtilage. So even if you were to put this in the curtilage, it would still be in the greenbelt and still have an impact on the greenbelt. In terms of loss of openness, it would be inappropriate there too. Precedent, each application is taking its own merits, considering its own merits. So we would say this is, given the considerations we've looked at, this is acceptable, but some other scheme elsewhere might not be for other reasons.
Secondly, then, I don't actually accept that Dorset has a climate emergency. I might as well put it out there because I don't. But I do feel that everyone should be doing their bit to reduce our carbon footprint and impact in where we can. But in this particular instance, I think I'm right in saying when I read the report that the actual input of electricity into the property and for the whole of Dunroman is well exceeded by the supply from this particular group of panels. So should we not be considering the fact that we have a very much larger impact there than we need to have, because simply that isn't required for that property? Or do we accept that because it's extra electricity into the grid, then that has an impact in some way on the green energy?
Through you, Chair.
Yeah.
Yes, it appears that the solar panels probably produce more than is needed for that dwelling. But our view is that any excess goes back into the national grid that can only benefit the climate situation. Answer your question.
Thank you. Councillor Brent.
Thank you, Chair. Speaking as councillor for Litchett and Upton, which is all Greenbelt pretty much, apart from actually inside one or two of the villages, or chance settlement boundaries, Greenbelt is absolutely being filled with solar panel farms. Some are tiny, suitable in about the size of half this room, and some of them are quite acreage. So a precedent has been set. We don't seem to mind anymore. I remember the fight for the first solar farm in Purbeck, where we were told it was inappropriate because the only thing you could do in Greenbelt was agricultural or horticultural or animal stock. And this was classed as a business. Therefore, it was a business opportunity in the Greenbelt. That battle was a good 15, probably 15, almost 20 years ago. So it's happening everywhere. And my query is, how was it unnoticed for 3 years, perhaps? In terms of, if you've got to have planning applications for them, then this is an enforcement issue. Why did it go ahead? Nobody reported it, nobody applied. It just seems a bit odd. But having said that, I would propose that we allow these panels. They're already there. What I would suggest is perhaps we should put a 20-year time limit on it now, because they've already been up there for however long. Because though I do wonder who is going to go around saying, excuse me, you've had those panels up for 20 years or 30 years, or yours have been up for 10 years or whatever it is. How are we ever going to monitor when things are changed? I would like to have some sort of, is they're still effective after 30 years? Will we just give them an extension? Do we have a policy on this? That would be my query. But I would propose we let this one go, because they're there, they're doing a job, they're not harming anybody. So I propose acceptance of them.
Thank you, Alex. That was a proposal.
It was a proposal.
So that the proposal is to take the officer's recommendation, grant permission. Thanks. Before I ask for a seconder, I've got a couple of people already got their hands up to speak. First was Councillor Hobbs-Chell, and then Councillor Azad.
Thank you, Chair. My slight query is around, whilst I really do promote the kind of the climate situation and renewables, is actually the beach hedging. Beach hedging hates wet feet. It really hates wet feet. And to then specify a beach hedge in particular in an area that routinely floods might be a situation that we causes a problem going forward. Would it be better, therefore, to suggest a mixed wildlife friendly hedge or similar?
Yeah.
That is more suited potentially to the ground conditions.
That would be a condition.
Thank you.
Yeah, we take that point that it could be quite a wet site, so we could amend the condition to require details of a native hedge to be submitted within a certain time frame, within 3 months, saying the same, or we specify the mixed species hedge instead of take out the word beech and have mixed species instead.
I'm perfectly happy with that amendment.
Can I come back as a supplementary then? Can I propose that amendment?
Please do. Right, do you want to come back now, or?
Do you need me to detail any more of that?
She just wanted that as a supplementary.
Okay. But if you're proposing that as an amendment, can we be a bit more specific about what it is you're proposing and what the wording might be?
Certainly, although I'll take advice from officers if need be. But yes, I'm proposing that it is changed to a mixed native hedge to be determined by suitable mixed.
Suitable.
Yeah. To be
Or
determined by
appropriate.
officers that is suitable to the ground conditions within 3 months.
Okay.
To clarify the reason.
What we need to do is we'll take a vote on the proposed amendment. Before we do that, we need to get that amendment seconded. And before we do that, Councillor Ezard has been waiting to speak, so we'll go to Councillor Ezard first, and then we'll follow on.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Beryl Ezard, Wareham Ward. I would actually, similar to the former speaker, I would question that having a beech hedge is going to be much more unsightly on the site than the actual solar panels. You're going to have a hollow long line of a beech hedge or mixed wood, whatever it is, or more environmentally friendly, biodiverse hedge, which will actually, if it grows up, will actually shadow the solar panels. So it won't have any different effect than them having solar panels within their curtilage, and they actually make sure that their trees and whatever within their curtilage is actually cut down so they can move the solar panels onto their curtilage. Because I've got a horrible feeling with this sort of thing that is actually retrospective, and it could be up to 4 years, that anyone, as I mentioned before, can just buy a plot of land and stuff, solar panels on it, and then, nobody noticed for a while, and then come back and say, oh, well, they've been there for a while, and we're going to put up a beech hedge or whatever. And actually, the countryside in Greenbelt, you don't want artificial hedges put up, right, just because it's shielding another artificial thing. And I'm all for solar panels, but in the right place. Now, if they come where they put them up in their own curtilage, actually, and not had planning permission for them, or even if they had to have planning permission, because certainly when I put them on my house, I didn't have planning permission or any reason to ask for planning permission. But if you have them outside your curtilage, then you do need planning permission. So this is the actual way they've gone about this has been completely the wrong attitude all the way along. They've glibly done it without any resource or any recourse to the planning committee or anyone else, or even the neighbours. So I think that actually, okay, on the floodplain, it says in the documents here, water won't affect them, but that putting the hedge in front, in actual fact, when that grows up and it's to the south, that's going to shade the solar panels. So it's counterproductive. So I don't see how they can put that in and say 2.8 metres from the panels, they're going to put these up, because it will come up and it will shade the panels. So the fact that they should have them on their own curtilage is the reason that I will object to this application.
Thank you, Councillor Azad. In terms of process, did you want to speak? We have Councillor Surrey House.
Thank you. Councillor Surrey House, Corfmallen Ward. I'm not sure that we can assume what was in the mind of the applicant when they put the solar panels in. I don't think we can say that they glibly put it up with disregard. When we look at a retrospective planning application, then it is as though it has come to us as an original application. So I don't think we're to take any inference on the fact that it's a retrospective application. Had there been a problem with it and there had been enforcement action started, they would still have been able to have submitted a planning application and we would be looking at it as it is now. So I think that if I were investing in 26 solar panels and was happy that there was a condition of a hedge in front of it, the last thing I'd want to do is let the hedge overgrow and shadow the solar panels. But that would be their choice. And I'm not sure that that is something that we need to consider in this place. I think the volume is also subjective. You know, whilst one may have 4, 6, 8 solar panels on top of a house, I can cite larger houses that have even more solar panels. So do we see that differently? There was a suggestion in a correspondence that we had that this was a mini solar farm, and I think it's far from that. So on that basis, I will be supporting this proposal with the amendment from Councillor Hogshire.
Chair, does this proposal that Councillor Brenton has put forward, are we talking about a 20-year? Can we just clarify that?
Is it what I'm trying to clarify right now?
Okay.
Okay. There's a number of issues we've got. The first is a seconder for the proposal to actually proceed and accept the officer's recommendation. We've had a proposed amendment regarding the tree hedge planting and what sort of hedge it should be. And then there's a possibility of amending the number of years that we give it from now if we go forward. So what we need is someone to propose and second each in turn. I'd like to actually have a proposal from to actually accept the officer's recommendations, the first one, and then amendments in turn, and we can then vote on those amendments in turn before we vote on the main.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. I think if you have an amendment to the proposal and it's been put up and supported by somebody else, then that is the next substantious motion you should be voting on, not the original. Am I right?
You're absolutely right, and I didn't say we'd vote on the original.
You said
I said we want the proposal in order to have something to amend.
Then you take amendments.
Yeah.
At the moment, we haven't got a proposal.
I think we have a proposal from council.
Well, we've had a proposal, not been seconded.
No, so that needs to be
So it
seconded.
needs to be a seconded proposal. That gives us something to amend.
Second. I can second and then amend, if that works.
Okay, can you put your microphone on, please? And what is it precisely you're seconding?
I second Councillor Brenton's proposal for a 20-year condition, and then I will place the amendment on.
Okay. So we've got a proposal to accept the officer's recommendation, but limited to 20 years. Sorry, even I'm getting confused here. There's three things.
Okay.
First of all, have we got a proposal to accept the officer's recommendation?
Yes, but change the conditions.
Get
Can
that
change the conditions.
Get that seconded.
Don't double up on these things, please.
Then take amendment.
Seconded. On.
Get
So we've got a proposal
20.
to accept the officer's recommendation. Yeah, we've got a seconder for that.
And just said
Yes.
But you
Yeah.
didn't, you didn't,
All right.
you said you did it with an amendment, didn't you then?
Sorry, wait, if you're speaking, excuse me, if you're speaking, please put your microphone on because people listening on the live feed won't be able to hear the mutterings. Okay, thanks. Proposal, seconded. An amendment to change it to 20 years. Is that amendment accepted as seconded as well? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Chair,
Yeah,
Chair, we're getting confused here. I'm sorry, point of order. Hannah has put forward that she wanted the hedge changed.
Yeah,
Now
I'm
she's saying she wanted 20 years.
We haven't got to conditions
She's
yet.
seconding the actual original proposal. She can't do them all. She can't do second the original proposal or then put a condition on it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, and I apologise. Well done.
Yeah, so in theory, what's happened is she's Councillor Hobbs Charles seconded the main proposal.
It's easier to get it
And
right.
then gone on to propose the
Right.
amendment, which actually technically she
Do we have to vote on the main
now as a seconder on the amendment.
I
And then
thought
actually
you should
there.
have amendments.
You seconded, proposed and seconded.
Yeah,
Then
but
you
20 years
take
conditions on
the amendments in turn and vote on them in turn.
Seconder on that.
Otherwise,
Well,
it's sort of rewarding somebody who's
It
already
is, sorry.
giving them an extra
Councillor Char has
possibly 5 years.
seconded the main point.
Because one should, because it makes penalties that it doesn't look
the
out
amendment.
Yeah.
a bit
And the
quicker.
head has been 20.
Otherwise, you're talking 35
So
years.
who's proposing 20 years?
Councillor Hobbs Charles.
Well, it's two.
I think maybe clarify with that.
Still here.
Well, exactly. Who's actually going to around a bit? You might be here, I'm not.
You might be. You'll have forgotten about it by now.
Okay,
We get on with it.
as I understand it, Councillor Brenton has made a proposal which has been seconded by Councillor Hobbs Chell, who has then proposed 2 amendments, which is on the hedge and 2 limiting it to 20 years, 30 years. Is that correct?
Can I come back? It was Councillor Brenton who put forward the 20-year.
20 years. That's
condition.
right.
Correct.
She suggested the 20
Right,
years.
so your proposal is to accept with a 20-year condition,
Yes,
okay?
yes.
And Councillor Hobbs, so is that's been seconded by Councillor Hobbs Chell,
Yes.
As it
Yeah.
stands, yes.
who has then proposed a further amendment, which apparently is in order. To change the beech hedge to a mixed native species, or what
That's right.
precisely was it?
Yes, mixed native species to be determined within 3 months.
Okay. I'm glad we've got that cleared. Councillor Morgan, you,
We just need a second on the 20 years then.
Yeah. Well, switch it on, I suppose. Yeah, Councillor Morgan, representing Wimborne, does this amendment to change it to a mixed hedge, does that need to be seconded? Or has all that ready been?
it will need to
covered?
be seconded before it can be voted on, yes.
Right, well, having experience of beech hedges, within 5 years, it'll be 6 feet tall, so it'll definitely be, covering it. So I accept Councillor Hannah's amendment that it should be a mixed hedge, and I second it.
Okay. So I have a proposal with a 20-year condition on it, which has been seconded, and a proposal to amend, which has also been seconded, the amendment being to plant a different hedge. Councillor Azad.
Point of order. I do believe that if somebody is seconded the original proposal,
I've just clarified that, and apparently they can.
Oh, it's never happened before. And I think we need to look at the constitution or something.
I've just taken legal advice on that. And we can, apparently.
Well, I hope it won't be called in. I do hope, because it's never happened before. If you second a proposal, you cannot then come back with an amendment.
Chair, would you like me a moment just to clarify that advice?
Can we take an adjournment just to clarify that legally? Thank you. 5-minute adjournment. There is apparently nothing in the Constitution that prevents a seconder from then making an amendment. So we have a proposal which included 20 years limit, and that was seconded. And then an amendment to replace the hedge with a different hedge. So the first thing we will do is vote on the amendment, and then we'll go back to the then amended or not amended substantive motion. Substantive motion being to accept the officer's recommendation with a 20-year rather than 30-year life. So we clear? So the amendment to that motion was by Councillor Charles. Has that been seconded?
Yeah,
David seconded it. Right. In that case, we can vote on that amendment. All those in favour of the amendment, please show. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I make 1, 2, 3, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So that's carried. So move on to the substantive motion, which is to accept the officer's recommendation, but with a 20-year limit rather than a 30-year limit. So can we have a show of hands in favour of that, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those against? 1, 2. So that would appear to be carried as well. Yeah. So P4 2024-00196 is approved, subject to a different time limitation and subject to a different hedge being planted. Moving on to the next item, item 9, there are no urgent items of business, and item 10, there is no exempt business, which means that at
25 plus.
11:23, meeting is closed.